This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Normally, I wouldn't bother showing you what I got for Christmas, but this year is different. The contents of this 60s LP case tell a fascinating story. Its contents takes us from the establishment of Elvis right into the brave new world of Merseybeat and the British invasion. All of the LPs in this box were collected by one British teenager from 1960 to 1965, and I bought them unseen at auction a few weeks ago. Now, I haven't done anything to any of them, and the only reason they're not in their original shipping box is that I hand carried them back from the UK to Austria a couple of days ago. So, let's get into it. Right, let's kick off with the oldest record in this collection, which is Elvis Presley's GI Blues. This particular pressing is actually a reissue from 1964. The only difference to the US version is on the first track on side 1. This is Tonight Is So Right for Love on the UK pressing, whereas the American pressing opened up with Tonight's All Right for Love. Slight difference there. As you can see, this has its front laminated cover in beautiful condition, lovely vibrant colours. As these RCA was pressed by Decca in the 1960s and used these very thin cardboard sleeves, and this one has sustained a little bit of damage just there, which has been taped up. Let's have a look inside at the record. Now, on the inner sleeve, you've got the catalogue number, RD27192, and the price, which was 32 shillings and 2 pence, or tuppence. That would have been written there by the record shop, because in most British record shops of that time, records were stored separately from the covers, which were out in the shop, and the records were behind the counter. Classic RCA silver spot label. I haven't cleaned these, so you might see a bit of dust and a bit of dirt on them, but I will be cleaning them before I play them. There we go. And you can see this classic deep groove ring just inside the label, which was a pressing hallmark of Decca in the 60s. So whenever you see that ring, that usually signifies a Decca pressing. Next up, we've got some more Elvis. This time it's the soundtrack to Blue Hawaii from October 1961. These soundtrack albums were massively popular, both in America and in Britain, of course, where they got to #1. This, again, is a mono pressing with its beautiful front laminated cover. 14 great songs. On the back, you've got the flipbacks and the price, same as GI Blues, 32 shillings and tuppence. And again, flipbacks at the bottom. We've got the same standard Decca inner sleeve there. And again, the catalogue number written on the inner sleeve, RD27238. And the price again, 32 shillings and tuppence. This comes on, I think this is a reissue, because this looks like a later 1964 RCA Victor label. This one's got a few scuffs on it. Yeah, as you can see, a few scuffs. But overall, really nice shape, been well looked after, which a lot of records from this period just weren't. Right, skipping forward another year to November 1962, and the third and final Elvis LP in this collection. This is Girls, Girls, Girls. Again, a #1 album both in the States and in the UK. This is another mono pressing. All the records in this collection are mono. 13 great songs. And there they are, including the single Return to Sender. And again, in really, really nice shape with its flipbacks. No price this time. And really nice, clean opening edges on all these records. Really, really nice. Again, standard Decca inner. There's the RCA Victor label. There we go. Next up is one of the biggest selling records in the 60s, well, at least in Britain anyway. This is The Shadows' Greatest Hits. This dates from June 1963 and spent 56 weeks in the British album chart. Only getting to number 2 though, although it was a very steady seller throughout the 60s for The Shadows and EMI. There are all the classic Shadows tracks, so influential on so many guitarists in the 1960s. It's difficult to overestimate how, or difficult to understand how big the Shadows were in 1960, 1961. Their music was everywhere. And this, I think, is their best compilation and an essential for any 60s album collection. Let's have a look at the record. This time we're moving on to the Emitex polylined inner sleeve from EMI with this clear plastic window. This has the catalogue number written on the corner by the record shop again, 33CX1522. It's on the blue and black Columbia label. This is an early second issue. I think very first issues didn't have this recording first published information on the label. But again, really nice condition. Difficult to see in these lights, but that's a great sounding album. One of the great sounding albums of the 60s. So well recorded at EMI Abbey Road, of course. Moving on to July 1963, and although the Beatles' Please Please Me album had been out a few months already, it's clear this record buyer wasn't impressed enough to buy it. Instead, they were sticking for now with American artists, and the next purchase was this, Duane Eddy, Twangin' Up a Storm. Like Elvis, he was on RCA. This is, again, a mono pressing with its beautiful front laminated cover. And there he is, a whole lot of singing going on behind that great guitar twanging. Apologies for my accent or lack of it. There we go. That's all the tracks on this 1963 album, which also promotes the qualities of Dynagroove records. Brilliance in clarity, realistic presence, full-bodied tone, surface noise virtually eliminated, and inner groove distortion virtually eliminated. There we go. Let's have a look inside. Here we go, catalogue number on the top right-hand corner, RD7568. Again, Decca pressed, so you get the Decca inner sleeve. There we go, that's Duane Eddy, Twangin' Up a Storm on the RCA Red Spot label, Dynagroove. Again, needs a bit of a clean, but otherwise it's been played, as you can see, from the spindle wear. But I think these records have been really, really well looked after, and I'm looking forward to hearing that album a bit later. We've got a lot of exciting Beatles projects lined up for 2025, one of which involves these scrapbooks, and this video's sponsor, Squarespace. If you're thinking of creating a project or building a business in 2025, Squarespace has all the answers. Squarespace is the internet's leading website building platform, and with the help of their state-of-the-art design intelligence system, will help you build a beautiful, unique online presence quickly and easily. And once you're done, you can make updates at any time with their fluid engine editing system. Turn your site's visitors into a dedicated subscriber base with Squarespace's powerful email marketing and social media tools. Their expertly designed email marketing templates can be customized in minutes and can help you build a mailing list of loyal fans. So, whether you're selling, teaching, or raising money for your cause, Squarespace can help you succeed in 2025. Why not get the ball rolling today by heading on over to squarespace.com for a free trial? And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/parlogram to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So the first Merseybeat album in this collection, as I said, isn't Please Please Me by the Beatles. It comes much later in October 1963, and it is Jerry and the Pacemakers, How Do You Like It? This is the first British album in this collection from October 63, as I said. This one's on the Columbia label, and as you can see, has a beautiful front laminated cover with dear old Jerry on the front, and beautiful flip backs, and there's your track listing. Now, this album was quite unusual for the time because it did have a single on it. You'll Never Walk Alone was a single, and of course is the anthem today of Liverpool Football Club, who I support. There you go. So we get the polylined inner again, like with the shadows, with the polythene inside, and the number written on the inner sleeve, 33SX1546. A mono pressing, of course. Again, this one does appear to have been played. Got some spindle wear there, but a really clean playing surface on both sides. Blue and black Columbia label. I mean, these lights will show up everything because they're very, very strong. So if it looks clean in this light, it's going to look clean everywhere. Jerry and the Pacemakers from October 1963, their first album. Next up is another album from October 1963, and it is Billy J. Kramer with the Dakotas and Listen. This is on Parlophone, and he was, of course, managed by Beatles manager Brian Epstein, who gave him a lot of Beatles songs to kickstart his career. You had Do You Want to Know a Secret, Bad to Me, I'll Keep You Satisfied, From a Window was another Lennon and McCartney song. And this is a beautiful copy with, again, wonderful front laminated cover and flip backs, of course, mono, although this album did come out in stereo. Didn't sell very many, though. And there he is, Billy J. Kramer with the Dakotas, and there's the track listing for this album. No hit singles on this album, although I Call Your Name, the last track on side 2, was the B-side to Bad to Me. There we go, got a lovely polylined inner here. No yellowing at all, so it's been nowhere near smoke over the last 60 years. There we go, on the yellow and black Parlophone label. There we go. Really pristine looking copy, that is. Look at that. Don't think this has been played more than a couple of times. Really nice. Of course, Billy J is still with us and still recording, actually. October was an expensive month for this record collector, as the next album also comes from October 1963, and it's from another Liverpool group, The Searchers. This is their second album, Sugar and Spice, as I said, from October 1963. This was a Pi Records release. They didn't have the same cover manufacturer as EMI, and a lot of their albums had a sort of a more matte laminated finish, not as glossy as the EMI ones. But that's a really vibrant, exciting cover. Sugar and Spice. Let's have a look at the back. Really beautiful, clean, flip back cover. It's mono. And there's the track listing. Now, unlike EMI, Pi weren't afraid of putting singles on their albums. And this album kicks off with one of the Searchers' singles, Sugar and Spice. And side 2 kicks off with that single's B-side, Ain't That Just Like Me. Let's have a look inside. This one doesn't have a polylined inner sleeve, actually. This is just a single, an unlined paper one. Let's have a look at that beautiful cerise pink Pi label. Got a few age spots on it, but this is a really heavy vinyl pressing. Much thicker than EMI's. Yeah, we've got a few blemishes on that label there, but the playing surfaces look really, really clean, really nice. Great quality pressings, Pye in the 1960s. Never had a bad one. Moving on to November 1963, and this record buy is really warming up to the Mersey sound, as the next album, of course, is With the Beatles, released on October the 22nd, 1963. This is the ubiquitous mono pressing, again with a beautifully clean flip back. Very rare for this album because the paper on the back panel was very cheap and went brittle and yellow very, very quickly. But this one's in great shape. And it has the earlier spelling of Gotta, which was changed soon after to Got 2. There we go. Really nice. Let's have a look at the inner sleeve. By this point, EMI had moved to this rice paper lined, more opaque inner sleeve lining. Side 1, and let's have a look at side 2 because it's more interesting. As we can see on the record label, it's, you can probably see the matrix in there. It's a 7N pressing, so it's the most common one, and it has the publishing credit for Money as Dominion Belinda, which is technically known as a second issue. But again, really, really lovely clean copy. Doesn't seem to have been played very much at all. Really nice. Of course, a very, very common album, but very uncommon in that condition. Now we're moving into 1964, and the first album from that year in this collection is the Hollies. Stay with the Hollies. Their debut album, really young looking lads. This is a mono pressing, again, on Parlophone. It did come out in stereo at the time, or just a few weeks later. And there you go, there's the track listing. This album did have a single on it. Stay was their second single, and that finishes up side 1. This album is also notable for the fact that it's got a version of Mr. Moonlight on it as track 2, which is a much more upbeat version than found on Beatles for Sale, which I prefer, to be honest. And there they are, the Hollies. I think we've gone back to the poly-lined inner sleeve on this one. There's the catalogue number on the top right-hand corner, PMC 1220. Let's have a quick look at this. There we go. As I said, I haven't cleaned any of these yet, and they would benefit from a clean, but they really are in great shape. Not played much at all. So we're moving down south for the next album in this collection, which is from April 1964, which is a session with the Dave Clark 5. This time it's on Columbia, and it's a mono pressing. I don't think this one actually came out in stereo. There it is, with its beautiful front laminated cover once more. And, you know, all these albums have great corners. I love a sharp corner on an album sleeve. Really nice. Oh, there we go. On the back, we've got the man himself, Mr. Dave Clark, the star of the show. There's the flipbacks and the catalogue number and the track listing. Their debut album, Dave Clark 5. Again, we've gone to the rice paper lined inner sleeve for this album. And Beatles collectors will recognise the typeface in that as being similar to A Hard Day's Night. Sort of a chubby style font. The other side. Zibbity-doo-dah. Very strange track selection on here. Lots of cover versions and things like that. I think their singles were better, course, the next big release of that year was this album, The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night. This is a mono pressing, which is slightly unusual because, as you can see, the black section in the middle is very grey, like the printer ran out of ink. It seems to be faded, but the rest of the cover is not faded, so it's just a printing error, which is unusual because a lot of things like this got caught at the factory stage and were rejected. So that's quite unusual. It's got a faded front cover. Looking at the back, the familiar back panel, nice and clean, beautiful flip backs. And the track listing, which we all know and love. Again, rice paper lined inner sleeve, slight yellowing on this one. Probably using cheaper paper by this point. And the record has that familiar chubby font as we saw on the Dave Clark 5 album, which was used on first pressings. -3N on both sides. It's been played, but again, really well looked after and carefully played. Obviously, I can't tell if there's any groove wear just by looking at it, but there's no whitening to the grooves that I can see, so hopefully these would have been played on good quality equipment, but only a play test will find that out. By this point, this record buyer is really into the Beatles, so it's no surprise to find that the next album in the collection is Beatles for Sale from December 1964. You may have seen our video on this a few weeks ago, just before Christmas. If you haven't, do check it out. One of the hardest records to find in good condition, especially with this very flimsy front leaf. But this one is really in great shape. Lovely sharp edges. Hasn't worn at all. Got a couple of thumbnail creases on the front, but the inside is really, really nice. Clean and black. Thankfully, this buyer didn't write the names anywhere on the covers, and that's a really nice copy. They usually go on the hinge there in the middle, but this is really good. And again, a smoke-free atmosphere has kept the whites white. Let's just take in the back before we have a look at the record. Lovely, beautifully clean, laminated cover. Lovely corners once again. Little pinched corners up the top for the spine. But yeah, that's a really, really first-class record. First-class copy. Let's have a look at the record. Yellow and black parlophone, of course. This is a 4N, -4N, and a -3N. Very common to get those mixed. 4N, 3N, 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 4N, 4N, etc. But again, a really, really lovely clean copy. Not the greatest sounding Beatles album. Mono Beatles for Sale. Stereo is much better, but it's the Beatles, isn't it? Next up is an album which will be celebrating its 60th anniversary next year, from August 1965. It is, of course, Help by the Beatles. Again, another cover which is really difficult to find in anything approaching this condition. This is lovely, clean and white. A pristine rear panel. Look at that. That's how it should be. That's what everybody wants in their collection. You know, a lot of these records are not rare. You can pick them up for 10, 20 pounds maybe. But in this condition, they're very hard to find, and that's what collectors want. We got first pressing label. Again, -2 on this album, -2, they all were -2s. Just one cutting of this album. And that was it. Again, Really nice. Like Beatles for Sale, Help in Mono is not a fantastic sounding pressing, although Ticket to Ride in mono is the only way to go. Yesterday too, to be fair. There we go. And that, everybody, is the end of this collection. We've got so much planned for this year already. As well as a ton of Beatles projects, we'll be covering albums by the Stones, the Pretty Things, the Beach Boys, Scott Walker, and, with the aid of these incredible books, the Monkees. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of those. And feel free to send me your suggestions as to what you'd like to see us cover on the channel in 2025. But that's all for this one, so I'll say bye for now, and thanks for watching.